lovely people. I'm Sinead, and welcome. Today I'm going to work again on Jane's space. It's not really her space, but her stuff that will go in her space, because I have a better idea of where I'm going with Jane's area than I do with the Kestner's area. As I said in last week's video, if you have any ideas, please contribute. What would you do with the space? I do have some things to show you that might sway that decision or influence it in some way. And I would like to show that to you now. As you can see, I've gotten the wallpaper up and finished all the way around the room, and the trim on the bottom, instead of the white strip of watercolor paper that I was going to use, I just took the trim off the top here and created a longer strip to use for the bottom of the wallpaper. Let's see if I can swing around here. And on this side where I have the other wallpaper, I found another piece of wallpaper that had stripes, and those stripes made really good trim edge, so I did that. It's a floral vine thing. I don't know if you can see that, but that's it. It's got the similar colors, and I thought it drew into the blue, drew the colors of the blue went to the other part. Anyway, so that's all finished, and this is the contents of the Kestner's room, which we're going to call her Della. I mentioned that on Wednesday, that her name is actually Della after the great aunt, and Clara, her little sister, and Gola Rosina, my grandmother. And yeah, my grandmother went by Rose. But anyway, we're going to call her Della. And she has a lot of books, a basket or two, and the typewriter may or may not stay. I may make it a smaller version of it because it is a printable. She has a baby doll, or a baby, whichever way you wanted to interpret that. And the wood stove and clothing. The tin that says Inks has shoes, and some other little things that I cannot right now remember. But there's clothing in the corner, and that kind of is telling me we definitely have to have bookshelves. That's a necessity, because this is not all of the books. This is just some of them. And maybe we shouldn't go with the kitchen. Maybe we should go with more of an office study. I'm not sure. Living area with a cradle and a desk. Tell me what you would do. Last week I asked the same question, and maybe now you've changed your mind since you've got more information to go on. What would you do? And over here, as you can see, Jane has a lot of potion ingredients, and we need to give her a place to put those potion ingredients. So I was thinking that today we would put together some shelves using craft sticks, the tongue depressor and stir stick variety, and give her some shelving that will go underneath that bed. And this is, like I said before, she's only down here temporarily because I have a better grasp on what to do with her space until I can get the floor that she belongs on finished. And that is going to require some more storage. As I've said before, I don't want to sound like a broken record there, because it is getting quite the mess in here. And I might actually be influencing Arthur to help me get on that one, because he came in here to take care of something on the computer and he knocked over part of the stack of stuff. And I just looked at him and said, shelves. So let's go and build Jane some shelves, shall we? I also, on Wednesday, spent a lot of time standing in front of you and wanted you to see that I did get the hands and feet, I believe, ready for paint. So we've got all our little details that I wanted, and I will hopefully get that painted. That all depends on how much redware work I have to do this week. So I prepped 2 sets of shelves. One is wider than the other, and I just used the tongue depressor type for the bigger pieces, and I went with the stir sticks mostly as supports, and there's one trim piece that goes across the bottom. Both of these sets of shelves are the same design, just different height, different width. And I did use this for cutting, but I'm going to just say, while it cuts the stir sticks fairly easily, it is not that great on the tongue depressors. It was more of a put it in here and lift it and break it and then sand it. And there was a lot of sanding it, and that's part of the reason why we're going to use supports, is that this edge, the finished edge, is not as clean as I'd like, and maybe not as even as I'd like. Like, I'm pretty sure that the ends of this are not completely square. This one's going on top. Nothing's going up against this edge, so it's not as big a deal, but still, there it is. I cut a notch in to the bottom to put this trim piece, the toe kick, but it's not actually a toe kick because it's not recessed in. Anyway, it gets the bottom shelf up. And so what we're going to do is we're going to glue a shelf support in here, and then actually, let's just start by gluing all the shelf supports in place. Move this to the side. And I just used 80 grit sandpaper for doing the ends after they were cut. I hope your day has been going a little smoother than mine. This is my second shirt. The first one was the victim of lip stain. I fumbled and I got lip stain on the cuff. Well, one thing I have discovered is that my black lip stain is red based. Not that I actually needed to know that, but you know, now I do. I've decided here I want to get this even with the bottom, but also even with that notch, so that it makes this spot that the board is going up against a little bit wider. And that's kind of the whole point of doing these supports, is making everything just that little bit more width to have the pieces grab onto. And I have to remember how I marked these. Yeah, it goes there. I guess it wouldn't really matter. Just move all the shelves, right? So I'd have to do it consistently, move all the shelves. So I did use a square, my square here, for putting the lines on here and trying to keep them the same from one board to the other. I guess I could show you that on the other set. Now that I got glue on this, it's kind of hard to demo that. So I was thinking that my light blue shirt needed to be over-dyed, and now I'm almost completely convinced of that. We'll see if the stain comes out. That may give me time to procrastinate some more. Again, the you know, that whole tariff thing and how it messes up supplies. The place that I would buy indigo dye from to dye the shirt is out of stock. I can't remember if I cut one to go up here. Hopefully I did. 1, 2, 3. Yes, I did. You can always, you know, use your flat surface to help you get things even with the edge. And I can recommend using a weight to hold the stuff down. It's not like it's going to get up and jump off or anything, but it does help the glue hold better, get a better adhesion between the two pieces of wood. So mostly what's going on in my mind over here while I work on this is, you know, what other things do I need for Jane's space? Or want. Obviously don't need anything, but what do I want for Jane's space? She's got a ginormous crystal ball. So, and a little one. Oh, I forgot to mention where I got all those potion bottles. Let's see. I wrote it down so I'd say it right. I got them from PaisliesPlace on Etsy. One of my friends in the Blythe community. I hope she's still making lots of stuff for Blythe and other dolls. But she did up all kinds of really cool looking weathered furniture, shabby chic type stuff, just really cool looking stuff. And hopefully she still got that going, because yeah, I got this a while ago. In fact, I think my kids gifted most of those potion bottles to me for Yule one year, and that may have been, ooh, we hate to admit this, 3 or 4 years ago. Because we're not certain. That's the part we're having trouble admitting. We're not certain. I have a mouse in my pocket again, I guess, because it's we. How many times when you said we are doing this, or if you ever, did you ever say we are doing something when you meant me or I? And did anyone ever say, who's this we? You got a mouse in your pocket? Radar seems to think that somebody is outside, and he is getting a little riled over here. Needs to lay down. I don't know what he thinks he hears. I don't even hear helicopters or cars or trucks or anything. You could, when you're doing this, make sure that all your edges are to one side or the other. I think it would probably look neater. And as I was gluing those down, or you could get them even and actually, you know, have them go from one side to the other. I failed at that. And then I couldn't decide whether I wanted them to the front or to the back. We're going to let that set up for a minute. I wanted, oh, I guess I could show that now. So you take your two pieces. Oops, this is the top piece. Let's get two that are the same. And yeah, here I can use the grid and line up like that. Or you can use the square and line up the one edge with the outside of the one board, and then when you draw across, as long as you've kept your two boards even with each other, you'll have the marking in the same place and only have to mark it once and not have to measure or anything. Most of these lines weren't measured anymore. You know, I just kind of like picked a spot that the jar would fit and drew across. When I did this set, I did have it sitting on the grid, and I went an inch and a half up and an inch and a half up again, and then looked at the space here and said I can't do that again and just divided it, like eyeballed it in half to get a spacing. Wasn't too worried about those jars fitting on those last shelves. It was more, although some of them do fit. I don't have that many littler ones, so it might be a curio spot for, I don't know. I have little plastic chicken, a little green chicken I found in the yard here, and a little unicorn bead thing that they look really cool when you stick them on a shelf. So that is probably going to end up going on that shelf. All right, we're going to use this the other way now, I think. Set it up. See if we can do this. Nope. I can't get it balanced. So I'm going to place some glue in here. And the idea is going to be that we're going across. And I guess, yeah, you got me sitting here holding it in place. I don't really want to hold it until it's dry. So I'm going to try this again. Put that one there. Okay, that worked better. Just set it down. Get the other one ready. And do any of you collect antique dolls? I only have the one. And only because it belonged to a relative. It's not that I have anything against antique dolls. That didn't work. Okay, we're going to try setting this here. Maybe that'll help. They're kind of out of my range. Kind of. I assume that there are exceptions to that, and that if I spent the time searching, I could probably find some. But with the chemical sensitivities that make fragrance just a no, I am disinclined. Okay, so this was the long one that should cap the other end up here. But my thought was to not start by capping it, but get the shelves in and then glue that in place, because you're not going to get your shelves exact. Like I did not. And okay, I'm going to stop, and that's really off. I'm going to put a clamp on this and then sand these all together. Be right back. The hardest part about that was getting these boards into the clamp even, so maybe I should have put them in when they were a little bit long and sanded both ends. I don't know. It seems to me that that might have been easier than what I just went through to try and get this clamped. But yeah, it's worth it to get it in there in the clamp. So I'm putting a little bit to the bottom and the end so that it goes onto both those places here. Oh, and I should have put that bottom one in first. I thought that was the bottom one. Yeah. Okay. This one's a little more challenging because it's already got the other piece on there. Oh, and here's where it'd be nice if I had done this to start with, is to make sure that I'm keeping it square. So this, and that's another thing, is I did not make it to where these two could glue together. They're just touching. Uh-oh. Craft sticks are, they give you a very imperfect finished product because they all have a little bit of warp to them. But I should show you the bag I've got of them. I need to do a lot of craft stick projects because I have a lot of craft sticks. Both stir sticks and the tongue depressors. You would think that I would use them for flooring. I've got so many of them, which may have been why I bought them. But I don't like the flooring. It's personal. I can be okay with a piece of furniture that's got a bit of warp to it, but the buckling in the floor bothers me. So I don't use it for flooring. It would work. It totally would. And I have seen people take it, put it in for flooring, and they fill the cracks, and they have a way of weighting it, getting it moist, weighting it down, and or something like that to where it's, you know, more flat. And then, then sanding it and taking all the parts that are up above off. Okay, so now we're going to just cap it with this. And I think we're going to take this clamp and we're going to wish that we had taken 2 clamps up here. Oh, come on, move. Just want a gentle, oops, not that much. Be gentle. These things bend too easy. There we go. Got the other one. Just a gentle hug. And leave it to dry. Once that's dry, we're going to put a piece of cardstock on the back to close up the back of the shelf. And then it will be painted in similar colors to the bed. Since I custom mixed that, I think I'm going to go a little more brown than I did last time. And I don't actually want it to be exactly the same color in the first place. And after I've got both sets of shelves put together here, let's pick this up and set it aside. Oh, I forgot to press that down after I got it clamped. Okay, picking it up by the clamps. Wow. Yeah, that's... It tweaked in the process of moving it. So I'm going to put it... You can't see what I'm doing. I know that. I apologize. I have used the edge of this mat to make sure that it's square again. Because, you know, who wants it tilted off to one? And that might add to the, what do you call it? The quirkiness of it if you allow it to be that way. Okay. Trying to figure out, I have 2 slightly shorter ones for the bottom of these supports. I also have a piece of fuzz here that's following us around. I think it's these 2. These I didn't get as what do you call it, as precise on I tried to get these closer, but I don't know. All right, and which one of these is longer? This one's the cap. And it looks like we have the same problem again. So I'm going to do the same thing, fight to get it into the clamp. Hopefully I got another clamp down there. Be right back. That was even more difficult than the last time. The clamp I have is even bigger, you know, so more awkward to hang on to. And I'm not sure I succeeded in getting them more even, or if I just made them less obviously uneven. I don't know. I think this time we're going to put all these towards the front. Now that we're thinking about it. Try and get that one totally even down there. Okay. And I do both of them at the same time. And I keep calling it cardstock and stuff, and it's chipboard. If you look it up in a search, it's chipboard. And I'll show you some of that here in a minute. I thought I had some to hand, but it's across the room. The glue is making it still floating, kind of. So when I press, it shifts. I'm trying to get that all, stop shifting, get it in the right place. Okay. Hopefully these are a little easier. While working on this, you know, you're thinking about all the different, I don't know. Oh, didn't I say front edge? Didn't I say I wanted to line that up with the front edge? Oh my goodness. Then I failed. Well, not completely. I haven't gone away, have I? All right, I think I got it lined up with the line and the front edge. We'll try putting it on the piece of wood this time, the stir stick part. Oh, I don't know that that made that easier. All of a sudden you're like, oh, I can't turn that around without sticking my finger in the glue. My week was kind of interrupted. I don't know, that the garbage needed to be taken to the dump, and that meant getting the garbage out of the garbage shed, where we have some birds in residence, and you don't want to disturb them, but they did choose to set up their nest in a high traffic area. And so you figure they're not that sensitive to the movement of us going by, but you do try and give them as much space as possible. Don't hang around while they're eating, because, oh my goodness, you can tell when the babies are being fed because they sound like cicadas. Just for that short minute while the parents are shoving seeds down their throat, I guess. I assume since they went and got dandelion seeds and then went up there to feed them, that's what the babies are benefiting from the huge number of dandelions in the area. You know, I wonder if that wasn't the reason why they chose that spot, is because there are I've planted so many dandelions in the area. And when I say I've planted, because I know most people don't plant dandelions, there were no dandelions up here on this property. And I love dandelions. They're really good for the soil, and they're edible. So it's one of those wild crops. So I went around gathering seeds from in town. And, wow, I had been gathering seeds for probably a year or more. and maybe several years. I don't know. Anyway, I'd been collecting the seeds and putting them in envelopes, you know, making sure they were kept dry. And when we discovered there were no dandelions up here, I thought that was very fortuitous. At the time when I was collecting them, I was just thinking that I was going to make sure that there were dandelions more, you know, like expand it faster, expand the number of dandelions, because I mean, you can have dandelions and there's only a few, or you could have tons and tons of them, and I was going for tons and tons of them. So I started sprinkling the seeds around, and every year I make sure to grab, you know, at least a basket full of seeds and spread them further. Then they would go by wind. So I am making them go further and further around on the property by spreading them manually. It's fun to just gather up that many seeds, and also, you know, there's just so many of them that it's getting rather thick in the original area, because I do make sure to spread them. And of course they are being, you know, the birds are being attracted to hang out here because there's more seeds. We don't like letting the grass go to seed right around the house because we have grass allergies, and Joey and I get really sick, especially Joey, if the grass is allowed to seed right next to the house. So I'm not fond of the grass. It's, you know, it was brought up here and planted just the same as what I'm doing with the dandelions, and it serves only the purpose of feeding the birds who eat it. I'm gonna admit to not ever seeing any bird eat grass seed. They may not eat it. I don't know. I've seen them eat a lot of different seeds, and grass seed is not one of them. So the birds are juncos. They kind of look like chickadees. A little different. They don't have the white stripes on their head. And the male and the female look the same. And they look hilarious jumping around. They will hop over to a dandelion, climb, like jump onto the stem, and then kind of walk up the stem, lowering it to the ground so that they can get to the seeds. So that was entertaining to watch. I also watched them attack the panel van tires, and I was not quite sure what they were doing there. Who knows? Maybe that tire did something that they didn't like. I forgot I had to weigh these down for a minute. And I'm thinking we might be set up enough to put the chipboard on. Be right back with the chipboard. So chipboard is your cracker box. And we're just gonna set that on here. And I don't have anything to draw against at the bottom. Draw up the side. I guess I could put it on here upside down. That would work. I know it's going to be kind of a curved line. I don't know if you can see those lines, but that gives me an idea of where to cut. Put a ruler there. As soon as I set it flat here, I can't see it anymore. Oh, I think that is funny. Cutting tool. There you are. Let's not drop it today, okay? Does that sound a little crazy? Yeah. My foot's still bruised. So I am going to just cut all the way across this piece instead of just cutting out. I find it easier. And my blade's getting a little dull, which means that's time to get a new blade, right? It's when accidents happen. Save that for the other shelf. Let's see if we can see this. Am I over here off the camera? I should have moved these. Trying not to move them until they're set up. You can probably see the pencil line better than I can. Okay, hopefully this fits. So flip it over to the back side. And the only difference between the front and the back is this piece that we stuck down here to be on the front. Check and see for fit. You know, I can trim it away afterwards, I think. I hope. That. Okay. All right, guys, you're gonna just have to go. Oh, move. They're like, I don't want to slide. I'm gonna fall apart. I apologize for being so quiet today. Like I said, we're in our head and there's just, it's not, I can't convey it. It's disorganized chatter. That doesn't make any sense. So, do you, oh, where? Wow. See, disorganized chatter. That went just poorly. I was thinking back to Wednesday's video and me going on and on about genetics and various things. And of course that happens every time I think about the doll. Della just, you know, brings up that family tree. And my grandmother, when I found the doll, it was kind of odd. She was not shown to me or presented it. I don't think. I don't know, maybe she was. But I don't think so. I think I was being the nosy little kid that I tend to be. And I got into a drawer in the area where my parents were sleeping. It was a one-bedroom house that my grandmother lived in. How they did that with 3 children, I don't know, and I actually don't really want to know. And they put a bedroom in the garage. There was one bedroom over the garage. That part I do know because that's where my parents would stay. And when we would visit, we all slept in the living room on the floor, the kids. Okay, now we're going to shift. We're going to put this a little further over to the side, shift the weight to that. See if we can do that. And put this together. But there was this nice dresser in that room. And in the bottom drawer was Della, the doll. And I remember opening the drawer and just, it took my breath away. It was magic. And I turned to my mom, who was there in the room, and she, of course, chastised me for getting into the drawers because they weren't there for our use. I said, but where did this doll come from? And I just wanted to know everything. And I was just totally enamored. I wanted to know all about the doll. And so I went inside and asked my grandmother. And she came back out with me and took the doll out and let me hold the doll and told me all about it. And she was just thrilled that I wanted to know, which is really cool because she just wanted somebody to want the doll, apparently. How she ended up with it, I'll never know because she didn't tell me. Maybe she was the only one who wanted it after it was broken. You know? Maybe she's the one that broke it. So the reason why I started with the shelf rather than the, we're going to call it a kick plate, even though that's not what it is, the trim board here in front, is because of, in trying to get these square, I'm pretty sure I took off more material than I should have and changed all the measurements. And so if you start with the shorter piece, then you can put the piece that caps. And it's sticking out a little bit on each side. So it still goes together that way. And I haven't totally messed up what I was trying to do. Anyway, Grandma was, and I called her Nanny. She was Nanny to me. When I guess my brother was born, she said, I don't want to be Grandma, I want to be Nanny. And apparently I was the only one who continued to respect that. Everybody else called her Grandma and kind of laughed. And I don't know. I don't know what the deal there was. But I continued to call her Nanny her whole life. It's what she wanted. And anyway, she thought I would take the doll with me. She didn't tell me to take the doll with me, but she thought I would for some reason. After she told me about it and let me hold it, I respectfully put it back in the drawer. I was thrilled to find out the story, and it wasn't mine, and I put it back in the drawer. Very carefully put it back in the drawer, and for me that's something. So I went home, we lived in Texas at the time and she lived in Oregon, and I think she was in the process of moving to Arizona or living part-time in Arizona. All I know is that once she was in Arizona full-time is when she said you were supposed... Oh, that's what happened. There's a memory unlocked. So when I saw the doll the first time, I was too young. And she didn't expect me to take it then. That's what happened. I was too young. But I came to spend the summer with her when I was older and she was living in Arizona. That's what happened. Okay. And I asked if she still had the doll. And I wanted to see her again because, I mean, I was just so enamored with that doll that it had stuck with me for years. Because I was just thinking I was probably maybe 7, probably closer to, I don't know, somewhere around there. Somewhere around the age of 7 the first time. And I was more like 11 or 12 the second time when I asked about the doll. And she said, yeah, I still have the doll. You really like that doll? And I remember us having this whole conversation about how, she was surprised I even was interested in the doll. She said nobody else was. And I don't know, maybe she was, planning on giving it to my older sister. Maybe she thought, it should go to an older sibling. I'm going to go to the bottom, I think. Come on. Or maybe not. I'm going to run into the stuff here. Maybe that was what she was thinking. Or if my sister didn't want it, maybe my cousin did. They were both older than me. I was the youngest. of the granddaughters. So obviously I was low on the, what do you call it, pecking order? Okay. That is wanting to fall over. I'm having a coordination issue. Anyway, that's when she said, I thought you were going to take it with you. And it was very confusing. But she sent it home with my parents because they owned the house that she lived in, and they had gone to do some repairs. And I feel like we're really crooked. So they brought it back, and I had her, and I made Play-Doh arms and, hands and feet for her. Her body just kind of disintegrated on me, and yeah, that's when our journey began, was way back then. At one time, she had human hair. I thought about doing that again because I have braids from when I had long hair. I have a couple of them that the thought was to make wigs with them, but I just haven't done it. Because I just really, I don't know. I think I would rather they went on a doll that I completely made instead of on a porcelain doll that I think looks better in a wool wig, a mohair wig. Just my opinion. Anyway, I'm sitting here holding this in place, which is ridiculous, but it's what we're doing because it wants to bend. And I think we're going to stop here because I feel like I have rambled on again. Started talking about the past, and I start telling stories like an old person. I hope you have a delightful day and a wonderful week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Just a quick little add-on here of the finished shelf. I don't know if you can see this. It is a little bit warped along this edge that I can see. And I also discovered my desk isn't level and everything wanted to roll to the side. So, yeah, can't do anything about that. But here's my little green chicken I found in the yard. Here is I think it's a brass salt shaker or something like that. I'm not 100% certain what it's supposed to be, but it's a brass miniature. And I was just thinking, just a smattering of things on here to give you an idea of the direction I'm going with this. Yeah, and I think I'm going to just start by painting it the dark brown milk paint color that I've got, and we'll see how I like it. It might be too light, and I might have to darken it up. But I'll get that done and show it to you next week. Bye-bye again.